Hey, it's Ernesto, and this is the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack review. This film is directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman, written by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman, and is scored by Daniel Pemberton. First off, let me tell you, go see this film. It's funny, it's smart, it's quick-witted, it's action-packed, it's heartfelt, great style and animation. It reminds me kind of the Lego movie, which just so happens to be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who also happen to be the producers on this film, which tells you a lot about how this film turned out.
Awesome!
So now let's talk about the soundtrack to the film, which is all the songs written and inspired by the film. All these songs in this album represent what a teenager would be listening to in New York City. So there are artists like Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, The Late XXXTentacion, Post Malone, Sway Lee, Jaden Smith, all these kinds of people who are in songs that represent a different part of our protagonist's life, Miles Morales. For example, the song that Nicki Minaj is in, Familia, is a reggaeton style song which represents the Afro-Latino roots that Miles has. I think his mother in the film is Puerto Rican. Also featured on the track is Annual A. I don't know how to say his name, but he's also Puerto Rican. This album also features songs that are really cool and really mellow and really vibey, which includes the most popular song in this track list, Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee. It features a lot of cool synths and a buried bass drum that gives it a kind of like lo-fi feel when you listen to it. It's easy listening for sure. It's more on the pop side of things, but of course that's your goal when you try to make something like this. Some of these songs though are absolute bangers. They go so hard. Other tracks I feel get lost in the sauce, if you will. They might be too simple in terms of form. For example, the track Save the Day is really lacking in form. Its style feels contradicting. It even sounds like it doesn't even stick to one key. Some of it feels kind of off. Some of those songs I don't really enjoy as much as the bangers or the cool vibey ones, but overall I think this represents the character and the world we're in and how fresh and new it should feel to a really saturated Spider-Man market. When it comes to a score to something like a Spider-Man movie, what is there to do? You have people like Danny Elfman and Michael Giacchino who've already done iterations of Spider-Man movies in the past. So when you have a new Spider-Man that nobody's ever seen before, what should be your approach to the music? Daniel Pemberton is known for not being afraid of trying new techniques, and he certainly does not shy away from that in this film. He uses things like vinyl scratches and synth effects, as well as orchestral arrangements that give this score a fresh, new, exciting kind of vibe for a new time. So in the grand scheme of things, some of the thematic elements might be hard to hear because it's covered up by loud sound effects or covered up by intense action sequences, or you're just so engrossed in the story or the visual style of the film that you're not really listening to the music as much. But there are certain things that really jump out at you. For example, there's this really cool sound in the film that represents one of the villains, the Prowler, which is this really cool screech and is really terrifying whenever he comes on screen. You really feel the presence of the Prowler. In fact, there's this really cool video on Daniel Pemberton's Twitter page that has the actual synth that he used to make the sound. Here it is. So things like that, the vinyl scratches, the edgy sounds, the industrial sounds that's used all over this film gives it a cool, glitchy kind of feel, which thematically works well with the film as a whole, especially when representing the multiple dimensions in the film and the border and the line between each dimension and how they coincide with each other. With really cool, unique techniques that give this new iteration of Spider-Man a fresh vibe for a 57-year-old character, Daniel Pemberton and friends elevate this already great film to new heights. I really hope we get to see more of this Miles Morales in the future, and I really hope that we get to see this team back because they made some real magic here. Again, I urge you to go see this movie, support the music, make sure that the studios know that we appreciate this kind of art. I've seen the film twice. My sister has seen it 3 times already. It's a great film. Even my mom loved it. So, there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this and want to see more, hit like, consider subscribing, and we'll do more of these in the future. Take care.